to
Mm-hmm.
find what, like, peace of mind for myself, but also to, at the same time, remain her parent and in the best way possible.
That's good.
I enjoy a lot of dark humor and coffee. Lots of memes. A good, solid meme about tacos or something like that on any day will make me laugh. I try to stay aware of what's going on in politics, but at, like, maybe in arm's length, because if I get much closer, it gets way too overwhelming in terms of the healthcare piece of it. I mean, it's so important for us in particular to be well educated on what's happening politically. At the same time, because it's like the enormity of this life, you can just drown in it. Like, it's, and it really does personally affect us. Like, there are 2 medications that Kaylee is on right now that are both on manufacturer back orders. Now, people are like, what? Like, manufacturer back orders? Yes, because manufacturers are right now, they are artificially limiting the supply so that they can drive up prices.
I heard about
medications.
that.
And that's real life. That's really happening in the United States. That's personally happening to my child.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 2 medications that help to control what's going on with her TAND. And that's real deal, real scary stuff. And, like, my husband's having to call multiple pharmacies to try to find medication. And so I'm literally, like, hoarding EpiPens, like, that's, that's what's happening. We're worried about health insurance, about we can't ever have my husband change jobs, things like that. Like, these are things that I keep at an arm's length because I need to know, and I do advocacy through the Alliance every year in terms of the March on Washington for funding.
That's great. I've heard that's very rewarding.
And at the same time, I find that my peace of mind is increased by really just inappropriate memes about Donald Trump. And so,
I know.
There's that's how it's finding that balance of, like, finding the humor in really, really crappy circumstances. Sometimes it's just laughing at the insanity of life.
It's pretty insane. And I think one thing I've found about managing TSC is it really makes you, I don't know how to put it. What's important changes in such a vital way that sometimes I feel like I can get, like, so much out of a good moment where those kinds of things would pass me by before, and I'm always looking for something way off in the future, as opposed to, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right. I think I completely agree. I find, like, I got all really sappy about, like, it was like a Christmas concert, and I was like, what? I mean, this is like a little Christmas concert, like these little kids singing, but it's just little things like that I can find a lot of joy in. And there's times when I see Kaylee was drawing this morning, and she was copying. She took a book out of the library yesterday. It was her first day back from vacation. She went to the library with her class, her mainstream class, and took out a Pokemon book from the library. She's obsessed with this book since yesterday. Now, she's been driving me nuts because she's so hyper-focused, and we have little Pokemon figures, and she wants them taken out of the closet. And I'm like, you have this massive Christmas hoard of toys. We are not taking any more toys out of the closet right now. So I've told her she may take her Pokemon to school for Fun Friday tomorrow.
Oh, that's good.
So she's asked me about 1,000 times since last night about these Pokemon. So this morning she has, the Pokemon book is going everywhere with her. It's gone upstairs in bed with her. So she this morning has this Pokemon book open, and she really still struggles with fine motor skills. And she is trying to draw these Pokemon. And I was like, I'm kind of frustrated because I'm trying to get them ready for school. And she's with markers, she loses the caps, wound up everywhere. I don't even know. They're behind the toilet. They're everywhere in the house. And I just go through markers all the time. And she gets marker all over her. Last night, I washed her hands, washed her face, and the next thing I know, she looks like Braveheart. She's got a blue line down her lip, down her chin. And but she drew these Pokemon, and they looked decent. They looked like these nice little cute Pokemon. And so I was like, I can't even be frustrated with you, because just how amazing is this? I probably, if it were Jameson, unfortunately, I'm not even gonna lie, I probably would have been like, oh God, come on, he's my pretty much typical kid, and I would have been like, you can do that later. Let's go. But for her, it was just amazing that she's so into this and so interested. And she was like, this one's Charmander, and look, I drew Charmander there. And that just brings me a lot of joy. The flip side of that is that I don't have a lot of tolerance anymore for things like small talk. I don't really care that Sears store is closing.
Oh my gosh,
tell me. I'm tuning you out right now. I'm sorry. I
feel like I just don't want to talk to very few people I talk to, because I just basically don't have a whole lot of really good things to talk about.
Right.
That are happy and wonderful and achieving along the lines that the average person is going along with their life. It's just different. So I hear you. Sorry for that rant.
And I think it's been hard for me to realize that it's not me. I'm not antisocial, because I've been thinking that lately. I'm really I'm really antisocial. I've turned into an old curmudgeon or something. I'm 37 and I'm this old, hobbit in my house. But really it's that my priorities have changed. My viewpoint on life has changed, and I really just have a hard time with small talk. I don't care about the weather. I'll check Siri in the morning. I really, I don't want to talk about how cold it is outside. It just bothers me, because I also have a lot of information coming in and out all the time.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
A lot that you don't, a lot that people don't even, what I was saying about keeping track of Kaylee's eye deviations. That stuff, when you're talking out there about Sears stores closing and how cold it is outside, I'm also having to keep track of all this other information and process all that other information. And that's a lot to have going on in your head all the time. I think that's also why I am a permanently exhausted person.
Yeah.
So I also just don't have a lot of energy for other things like that, which makes it hard, when people are, oh, you need to do self-care and all this fancy stuff that I'm just
I know, it's so similar.
You need a nap. Want a nap. Just really want a nap. I do have a nice circle of friends, and I think they really do try to, they try really hard to understand, and I think they do get it on certain levels.
Good.
And they're really, my friends are great because they're complex thinkers. And when you run into complex thinkers, they're able to understand a lot more. And when you run, I have a nice circle of more introverted people. So introverts tend to not really dig the banter and the small talk as much. So they are more into, talking about the bigger issues, and they're not so much like, oh, I really don't understand your blog post. It's so like, big issues. And they also really care about my kids. And that's another thing, having friends who really care. They might not get it, but they just really love Kaylee. And
Yes.
and their kids, like their kids just love Kaylee for who she is. They're just like, that's Kaylee. She's kind of strange, but it's cool. Like
Right. They don't
it's not
have
a big
the whole
deal.
matrix of tuberous sclerosis tattooed on their brain, so they can
And
freely embrace.
and they do they worry about her when she's in the hospital, and they'll ask, we give them some information about how to, explain it a little bit more developmentally appropriate, like what's an EEG, stuff like that. But they just love her, and they get so excited for her when she had her Make-A-Wish trip recently. So
that's right.
Excited for her with that.
I think having some support network, a few people you can connect with, is vital.
Yeah, because you really can't do it alone. It is, I call it like the bubble of doom. Otherwise, it's just this little
bubble of doom. That's good. I'm writing that one down.
Stuck in this little bubble of doom.
Yep.
You got to get out of it sometimes.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot. It's been really helpful. And
I'm glad.
Also, really, I'm sorry that you've struggled with all these things advocating for her. I'm hoping that they're going to learn to do it better at these doctors and hospitals. I think my biggest issue with the clinics and just care for TSC individuals is the inconsistencies with the people that are involved on all these different, islands of knowledge, and so little cohesiveness. And how can you expect to treat a kid that's got, these psychiatric issues and the medical issues and all the way in between, the motor skills and all that stuff, without talking to each other?
Yeah, I think that has also been one of the most frustrating things for me as well. And it also takes a really long time for them to communicate with each other. We will wait a really long time for a psychiatrist to say, I'm not sure if she can take this medication because it may have because of her heart condition. And so I'm going to talk to the cardiologist, but that might take a while. So,
right.
We have found that Mass General has been wonderful out of the 3 hospitals we've gone to, out of the 3 clinics we've gone to, Mass General has been the best with that.
Yes, I agree. I think they are doing a phenomenal job.
And they do seem to learn and grow and get better every year in terms of the way that they're servicing patients. I do agree that there's miles to go in this area, and I know that the Alliance is working really hard at the way they classify clinics, and that is an area where I'm really interested in. In my mind, there is no way that Connecticut children should be even classified as, that's just
I did not know that.
Opinion that Connecticut children should not be classified as a clinic. They don't have wraparound care, in that at the time they didn't have wraparound care. And so I don't know as of, 2019, because we're talking 2009, 2010, 2011. At the time, they didn't have wraparound care. At the time, they didn't have a neurology department equipped to handle a case like Haley's. So I think that, that's really important for if the Alliance is going to be saying these are clinics, and having a list of places that you can go to as a clinic, that is really they should be
some consistency
looking
there,
and some consistency with how they classify, which I know that they're doing right now, which I'm glad.
Yes.
I think that it has caused us a lot of heartache with all the holes in Kaylee's
Yes.
care. And if I get to a really dark place, I will think like, where could she